I'm Forrest, and today I'm excited, though I'm not sure if that's the right word, to talk to you today about Cascadian faults. Now, many of you know about the faults that come with living in the Cascades, whether it be wildfires, rain, or the 20 days of sunlight you get each year. We can all, at the very least, name a few. However, those aren't the faults I'm going to be talking about, rather, the ones underneath us. Beneath our feet and the soft dirt we plant our strawberries in the spring is an underground puzzle of continent-sized rocks. Now, let's be honest, we've gone our whole lives without hearing this information, and we probably could go longer, right? Well, I'm here to tell you otherwise. What if I told you, according to the Oregon.gov Cascadia Hazards and Preparedness page, we Pacific Northwest residents have a 37% chance of experiencing a megaquake in our lifetime? I'm not talking about a 5.0 or a 7.0 on the Richter scale. I'm talking about a 9.0. It is for that reason I personally and many of your local community leaders have been advocating at an ever increasing rate for greater awareness of this issue. And that advocacy leads towards pressuring our local governments and our leaders to renovate bridges and buildings that could put people at risk or communities on the broader scale at risk. Scientific studies have given us both the time and incentive to prepare, so we would be stupid not to. The only hard part now is informing the broader community. And by broader community, I'm not talking about like Eugene or Corvallis. Well, yes, that is important. I'm talking about states, entire states, even other countries. As you can see here on this map, the Cascadia subduction zone includes Northern California all the way up to Victoria Island. That spans 3 states in one country. That is a large space. And with all that people, we need to be even more worried about informing people and making sure that we are properly prepared for this big earthquake. Now, before I go any further, you might be asking yourself, how do we know all this? And thankfully, there's an answer. The Cascadia subduction zone has piqued scientists' interest since the 80s. Since then, we've learned a lot about our region's troubling past and uncertain future. What is known as the Juan de Fuca plate is sliding underneath the North American plate. This image here, I think, describes it pretty well. We have the Juan de Fuca plate sliding under the North American plate, as you can see here. This is possible through a process that is quite complicated, but to put it in simple terms, oceanic plates are very dense and they're very solid, as you would expect. But it's made of basalt, which is usually a much denser material than granite. And our North American continent is made entirely of granite, which is a hard rock, but not as nearly as hard as basalt. So it is through that process that the oceanic plate slides under the North American plate, and that sliding builds up so much pressure that eventually it lets go and it releases a large amount of energy, and that is what we call earthquakes. And we have a really, really big tectonic plate sliding under our plate. So we're basically sitting on top of a pressure cooker, which hence why it's so important that we all are aware of this and make sure that we're taking the right steps to mitigate the possible damages. Another person I want to talk about today is the geoscientist Tina Dura, who has done wonderful research at Virginia Tech, has dedicated hundreds of hours to uncovering the hidden story of Oregon. One of the main ways she's been able to make headway in her scientific study is through examining fossil records. By examining fossil records, by taking dirt samples from the tops of hilltops on the Oregon Coastal Range, she's been able to find that there are fossils of fish, crab, and other oceanic life 300 feet above sea level, which is crazy. And she went on a journey to understand why. She found that around the times of the 1700s, there was a major Cascadia subduction zone earthquake that caused huge tsunamis that went way above anything that we've ever seen before in the Pacific Northwest. That put oceanic life up on hilltops and then buried it over the years. So it's through studies like that that governments have been, I guess, more pressured to take steps to mitigate those damages. According to FEMA in a May 2nd, 2022 press release, there was a study conducted by both federal, state, and tribal leaders on the coast to test the preparedness of local coastal communities. And frankly, and to put it bluntly, we aren't ready. Our A great community, as an example, Seaside, Oregon, is a popular tourist destination, especially during the summertime, where up to hundreds of thousands of people can be visiting each week. That community is not ready. They have hospitals built near sea level and flood paths, and they have schools built in the way of danger. By taking steps like building schools higher up in the mountains, building hospitals that are earthquake proof, and retrofitting old bridges that were built before we even knew that we could have an earthquake so big in, in the Pacific Northwest, that is how we can fix our broken communities, or soon to be broken communities. Now, hopefully, we can all learn from this new information. And for those that have already heard of this, that's great. We need more people like you. You play a vital role in informing our communities, voting for responsible representatives, and preparing your friends and family. We won't be able to stop this earthquake, however, we can minimize its impact by spreading awareness and taking action today. I appreciate your time. Thank you.